All right, the Reds, it's the second look, taking a second look, or at least in theory, at Watford 0, Liverpool 3. With me, Gareth Roberts, to do that, I've got Fuad, Hasan, Paul Cope. I wanted to start by screaming down the camera and doing an impression of Klopp, but a shit out, to be honest. But it was boss. If you haven't seen it, there's a clip kicking around on the internet and that, where clips tend to be, of Klopp going, what a fucking counter! And loads of people were trying to work out what he was saying. And to me, like, I'm no lip reader, but it was dead obvious that he was saying, what a fucking counter, because A, it was what a fucking counter, it was the third goal, and B, that's what he's banged into. Like, I've harped on about this before, and I'm happy to do so again. Me and Gibbo got to watch a training session in Hong Kong a while ago when Liverpool were there, obviously. And they worked on these counters over and over again with like small sides. And if it wasn't fast enough and it wasn't, if it was too many passes or whatever, he was stopping them. Pep Linders as well, and just going, no, like it needs to be direct to him. You don't need to do that and that. You don't need to turn back. It needs to be bang, 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 back of the net. And that's literally what that was, that third goal. It was a Klopp goal. So what a fucking counter. Anyway, a 10th win from 13 league games, the best ever start to a league campaign defensively with just 5 goals conceded so far. More points, 33, than Liverpool have ever had at this point in a Premier League season before. Going to start by just sort of putting that into a bit of context, Fuad, so see what you think here. So 33 this time around after 13 games. Same situation in the past seasons where we've been there or thereabouts points-wise. So at 08-09 we had 32 at this point. We finished second on 86 points. 16-17 we had 30 at this point. We finished fourth on 76 points. 02-03, 30 at this point, finished fifth on 64 points. That's shit, isn't it? On 07-08, we had 27 points at this point in the season, and we finished fourth on 76 points. I don't know what that does for you last year, but for me that says we are doing really well, and we actually haven't done that well that many times in the past by the looks of things. So let's talk about it in that context. Yeah. We're flying, we should be talking about we're flying. I always say this, we should be positive about where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, sort of the harsh reality of it is that we'd have to get off to our best start this season if we'd have any chance of winning this league because of the team we're against, really. Yeah. So it's really important in that sense. And, the main thing I've taken away from it in terms of if you're looking at the numbers is, we played these first day of the season last year and we conceded 3. And we've conceded, 5 all season? And that's in the league, which is absolutely brilliant. That's a complete turnaround. And, we can talk about the other end not being as firing as it has been last season. But the defensive side of the team and the team in general kind of working together, especially with the back four, it's been brilliant. And that's such a huge turnaround in a season, basically.
Copy, in terms of the performance, I mean, obviously we can toast in the afterglow now of a comfortable looking 3-0, and rightly so, but I think winding back to how the game actually unfolded, I mean, I think it's fair to say there were some twitchy moments there. I mean, obviously offside goal from Delafeu early on. Okay, it's offside and he's clearly offside, but nevertheless, I think when you're a fan watching it and the ball ends up in the back of your own net, it's not nice, is it? Do you know what I mean? You kind of you can just go, oh, well, the offside shot worked. Because Liverpool are quite good at that. But I don't think that's how you consume that moment at the time, is it? You're like, oh no!
Do you know what? Well, just on that bit, before you go any further, that phrase does my head in.
What?
It does my head in. Offside goal. No such thing.
It's just offside.
It does not exist.
Yeah, it's just offside.
You could have an offside goal or a free kick goal or a handball goal at any point in the game if every time a decision was given near the box, the player just carried on and kicked the ball in the goal. And then everyone's got to go, offside goal there, wasn't there? Handball goal? No, it wasn't. There's no goal. Why? Because as soon as it's offside, the game is dead.
Yeah.
That's it now. Yeah. It's stopped. If they'd have just stopped, the ball wouldn't have gone in the back of the net. We had one later on where Mane hits the post. The flag goes up, it comes back to Firmino. Firmino could have put it in the goal, but he didn't.
He left it, yeah.
Because he just went, oh, it's offside. Yeah. I'll leave it then. So for me, I just couldn't care less. All those stuff, it's a bit like the same as the... I'm thinking about some of the lads in the pub now going mad about this stuff as well. It drives me absolutely insane.
Well, there were other moments where there was the Alisson pass out to Firmino, which was a bit dodgy. There was I thought Lovren played well on the whole, but I think there was a bit of a moment where he looked slightly uncertain.
Yeah, well, there's two little bits. There's the Alisson one, which is to Firmino, self-inflicted, and there's the Lovren one where actually, because of the footage, it was weird. You didn't see how it happened the first time because we'd just been up the other end and had a chance. I think that was a good save from Foster, and he came back. Lovren actually slipped. He came out to get the ball and slipped over. So everyone can say, oh yeah, we had some difficult moments, whatever. You're going away to a really tough side, and to come away from there with 2 or 3 moments where you went, yeah, that was a little bit uncomfortable, where our goalkeeper had to make a good save and where we recovered from a mistake. God, I think that's pretty good going. If people are getting to the point where we can't make 2 or 3 mistakes in an away match in a tough place to go, then, again, I mean, I've said this before, but they're watching the wrong sport, they're in the wrong thing to try and sort of get away from the stresses of daily life. I think it's a really, really professional, solid, impressive away performance. To end up winning 3-0 in that game when it was tough for a long period of time, Watford are a good side, we controlled the game again, we're prodding, probing. I don't know what more people want.
It was a weird one before the game, actually, because you had people kind of in two camps with it. Some thought Watford were a really good side, and others thought maybe this is the game Liverpool are going to click and go and batter someone.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's come out of it seeing that this is a very good team that we are playing against, and getting that 3-0, you can't kind of underestimate it.
No, I was really pleased with it. I thought it was a potential banana skin, as the cliche goes. But Liverpool did do lots of things right, and here's Neil Atkinson showing you some of the things that Liverpool did right.
Watford have the fifth best expected goals against record in the whole league. That's even after this weekend's game against Liverpool, where we did in the end create a fair few opportunities against them. What they've shown all the way through the season is an ability to press well, to defend well, and to counter-attack really well. Liverpool get the ultimate warning of that in the first minute of the game when De La Feu gets through on goal, puts it in the back of the net, but is given offside. From there, you saw Watford win it back, be really direct. 3 passes later, the ball's in the back of the net. It didn't count, it was offside, but that acted as a warning for this Liverpool team, and it probably encouraged them to play a little bit safer than maybe even the manager would have wanted. But it's noticeable after the game, the manager called it a mature performance. The other thing that's noticeable as well is the way Liverpool start to get opportunities with 10 minutes to go in the first half, and then they start to get opportunities after the hour mark. That suggests there's a process that's gone on where Liverpool are looking to wear Watford down, not just look to probe and get through them. I was in the ground and I was frustrated. I want to see Liverpool force it a little bit more, be a bit more vertical out of midfield, but they knocked it around the pitch and just kept moving Watford left and right. This is the way in which the setup sort of tended to be on the pitch right now. You can see there they've got their back four, they've got the midfield too. Hughes tucking in off this flank a little bit, Pereira maybe being a little bit more daring, and then playing sort of either Deeney or De La Feu a little deeper, but also Liverpool being prepared to defend against those two in quite a 2-on-2 sort of way. What I think you notice from the game when you watch it back, when you look at the stats, is how Liverpool dealt with Pereira, Wijnaldum cutting off the passing lane to him all the time. But the other thing Liverpool did brilliantly, did really, really well, was we've talked a lot since Klopp came in about the gegenpress, about the idea that the gegenpress is the best playmaker. Well, I think Liverpool stopped Watford from getting going at any point in the game. And yes, Firmino gets the chance when he comes through and has the shot there. But ultimately what they were actually doing was looking just to stop Watford from being as good at turnovers, as good at counters, and getting up the pitch and getting out as possible. They wanted to keep the pressure on, and so they were gegenpressing where it wasn't the idea of Adam Lallana running 15 yards to close down. Instead, it was the idea that you're just right there, you're right on top of them, whether it's Firmino, Shaqiri or Mane. They were all really narrow, the fullbacks were pretty narrow, and Liverpool, rather than make the pitch big to pull them and then look to pick them apart, Liverpool instead were happy to play right the way through the game in slightly tighter areas, and then look, if they lose the ball, to ensure they swarm right onto Watford quickly, and that way just turn the screw and keep the pressure up. It's a bit of a change of gear, a bit of a change of pace for this Liverpool side. But I think we got to see more and more what the plan is. The way the manager spoke of it after the game, it's a really mature performance, the most control that he's had here. It may well be something that we've got to get used to a little bit on the road. But the flip side was when Liverpool did turn and go, when Watford tired, Liverpool scored 3 goals. They saw the game out. They found themselves a new way to win. And maybe it's a new way to play. We probably won't see it in Paris, but we may well see it at Burnley. We may well see it at Bournemouth. We may well see Liverpool go away from home, be really, really patient, but know they can get the job done in the last half an hour.
Thanks very much to Neil there. Fuad, you were touching on something there that I'm going to pull you up on. Don't worry. But just the idea that everyone's been talking all season about sort of this concept of, and I'm bored of saying it, but of the front three clicking. Now, I think, the goals Liverpool score, all of them are pleasing in different respects, but the first one involves all of the front three. And was that them clicking?
I think it was. I think from the first to the third one, you saw Liverpool playing that, as you were mentioning with Pep Linders and how he wants us to go forward. It was playing on instinct and those quick passes. There's one, I think it's the first one, isn't it, when Firmino plays in Mane. And that's all three of the front three that are supposedly not clicking, putting together 1-2 touch passes and getting a goal out of it. So I was absolutely delighted with that, just because we can kind of put this to one side now, because it's very clear that this team has changed in how it plays football, and the manager has come out and said that now. And I think it is time for us to really stop talking about when is this team going to click, because you're in this tough period when you're going into the Christmas season and you've got so many fixtures coming up. You can't be playing football at 150 miles an hour like we were doing last season. It's got to be managed, and when you've got the kind of backbone to manage games, then you're flying. And I think Man City going at the pace they are, that's something that we don't really need to worry about at the moment, because I think fine, they do have the squad, but
it's you that keeps bringing them up.
Well, sweating about it. Yeah. But later on in the season, I really think after we come out this Christmas period, we're going to see this Liverpool team take it up a notch, and I think we're going to see Jurgen with his lineups, with the way the team goes out, really play that sort of football we've been, craving, I guess.
Yeah, I think it depends on. I was thinking about this as I was watching it. There's this really interesting thing, and I'm even doing it myself, where I think we all think Bobby Firmino's not really quite at what he was, playing this adjusted position. He's not as effective as he was. Salah playing in a central role, does he look as effective? Is the whole sort of balance of that three completely changed, which it has by the shape they're playing? But then Firmino scores one and plays an essential role in another. And Salah scores the opener again. So it's really weird, because it's this sort of like conflicting feeling of it doesn't feel like or look like they're firing like they were, but they are to a certain extent. And I don't actually see much changing with that, unless and until he can create a midfield that supplements them going back to the way they used to set up. And that only rests on Naby Keita for me. If Keita can come in, hit that height that we think he could, and sort of take more of that Oxlade-Chamberlain role, where we can play a three-man midfield and he's driving from midfield, then you can go back to having the three right up the pitch and Firmino in the middle. That's the only way I think we're going to get back to what we all feel like, what we mean by clicking. It's an important thing.
But also, though, he's getting Shaqiri in there, isn't he? On merit as well. I mean, he's now doing that away. You know what I mean? That seemed like something he was tinkering with at home, but now he's done it away. And in what, as you said before, a game where lots of people looked at it and thought, it's a bit of a tough one. They've got lots of big lads, physical lads. And Shaqiri, all right, he does his fair work in the gym, as we can all see from his calves. But he's not the stature of some of those lads, and yet he's put them in there, trusted them, and they've come away with a 3-0. So there's that aspect as well of sort of using what he's got to dictate formations and stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And look, that's all part of the evolution of the team, is that you want to have different options. It's a bit of sort of damned if you do and damned if you don't from a management perspective, that when he was just playing 4-3-3 and it wouldn't work, people would then be saying, oh, well, it's like the Pep Guardiola thing, you need a plan B, blah, blah, blah. And when he has got a plan B, and there are different options now, because he's been working with these players for so long, most of them, and he's able to adapt depending on who's available and who's in form, then people are like, well, it isn't as good as it was before. And so I think there's always an element of you can't win unless you're demolishing teams. And we keep coming back to this, but there's always, and you can see this in some of the press conferences he's done recently, it must be frustrating for him that there's just this constant comparison to City, where, we've won again, but we didn't win like City won, so. And if you just, I didn't watch the full City game. I think I'm going to start watching their games in full to see just how good they are. Because there's part of me that thinks there's a bit of a myth starting about them now. There's this sort of aura about them. Because if you just look at the goals that they scored and some of the comments from the people who watched the City-West Ham game, it didn't look like it took much for them to cut through West Ham there. It didn't
look like they were busting a gut to defend some of them, did it?
No.
But, concentrating on the Reds. The other goal as well there from Trent, obviously really pleasing as well. A great free kick, but also added on to his goal from England. And I think we saw, last season that, when his confidence is up, it obviously, well, I think that applies to anyone, but when your confidence is up, you're going to play better. It's clear his confidence will now be up. You've seen from his celebration how delighted he was with it. And I think it's good as well that Liverpool can perhaps look forward to, maybe from him, having a consistent dead ball threat, because we've not really, since Coutinho's gone, we've not really known who that is. You've seen everyone having a bit of a go. Virgil the other week. Yeah. I mean, it could be Trent. He is that good from free kicks, isn't he, potentially?
No, definitely. I think, going back to the confidence thing with him, I think the two players you really wanted to get something was Firmino and Trent, just because, Trent's come off that England game. Fine, he's done it for country, but I think getting that goal for club, he has gone through a little bit of a spell where maybe his confidence has been down, and you've seen on the pitch he's not been quite himself. And any player, let alone a young player, but anyone really will take a goal as a huge boost to confidence, and especially if you're young like that. And what a goal it was, and what a time in the game it was to score it. So you could see the importance of it, and he felt it as well when he scored. So yeah, I mean, there's always been this talk about, do we have the players that can contribute with little goals here and there? You can't just rely on those front three to get the goals for you. And him on dead balls, and hopefully that Virgil can get a couple as well from set pieces or whatever it is. So if we add in goals from other parts of the team, then this is exactly what you need to keep the momentum going.
Absolutely, yeah. We haven't done the stats so far, but don't worry, Kopi, they're here. I know you loved them. 64% possession for Liverpool, 10 shots to Watford's 5, 7 shots on target for Liverpool, 1 on target for them, 5 corners each, and Liverpool 1 more foul with 13 to Watford's 12. The Watford manager after the game says the game was closer than the scoreline. That's not really backed up by the stats I've just read out. He says, we did a good defensive job for 66 minutes, and after that the game changed. We had opportunities, we didn't take them. I'm not sure you had that many opportunities, really. He says, everyone knows Liverpool are a great team, and then he gets onto the ref and all that. I'm going to come on to that in a minute, so don't spoil me fun on the penalty appeal. But I mean, what do you make of those stats and what the Watford manager had to say?
I think he's being overly generous to his own side. And I think as well, I know we like talking about the different views of stats. This is one of those games where I got a lot of hope from this. When we talk about clicking and I always think, well, what does that even mean? What I think about clicking is as an attacking force is the confidence to keep the ball and keep rotating the ball and not to have possession for possession's sake. We've seen that number higher in recent weeks, but with us having less of an impact on the game. When the manager, Grati, is talking about defending so well for 60, 66 minutes, I think the bit that is ignored there is what our possession was doing during that time. And I don't know about anybody else, but I felt in this game more than in any of the games that have gone before that we were using the ball better. We were moving them around. We were making it difficult for them to not have the ball. Whereas in Cardiff, against Cardiff, for example, I think there was just massive spells in that game where we had the ball and they were quite happy for us to have the ball. Whereas we looked more like a City-type side that at our best in this game, where maybe not at our best, but getting back there, where it was difficult for them. There was lots of sort of last-ditch stuff, and you could see, you can almost see more in the body language and the communication of the opposition defenders than anything else. They start looking like they're being stretched. They're shouting at each other. They're trying to keep each other in check. And that's the most fascinating bit for me, because that's going into this phase. That's the bit that'll make sure we win games later on. It's very much old school United, where you can look at it and say,
grind them down.
Yeah, I hope to hear that quote from opposition managers for the next 3 months.
It's interesting on the stats. It's almost a show in itself. I don't think we can get into it too much now, but you just reminded me when you were talking about it there about Gerrard once saying about it's all well and good, like players having 95%, pass completion and things like that. He said, but you've got to try things. Yeah. You've got to look for a ball that's difficult, that might result in a goal, and not go, I'll just keep the ball. And that's exactly what you're saying, isn't it?
Absolutely.
On the stats, though, we're going to stick with them nevertheless. Andy Robertson, this is what I want to end the show on, just because he's my absolute hero now. Love the fella. Plays the whole game, obviously. Run through some of his his stats here. 8 duels, 5 of them won. You should know what that is now. We've done the duels chat. 90% of his passes were accurate. And then obviously he's running through at the end, bulldozing his way to the Watford goal, setting up the brilliant counter that his manager loves so much. And so, came away from that buzzing about his performance, buzzing that we've got, one of the best left-backs we've certainly had for a long time. But then over the weekend, I don't know if you've both seen this, the quotes came out that he'd given after to the media. And if you haven't seen them, they're absolutely fantastic because they're basically the way he played in that match. He's come off the pitch and talked almost in the same manner, which is brilliant. So he's asked about this penalty appeal, which you've seen lots of people talking about, especially journalists that love the Manx. And he's asked if there's a penalty. He said, no, I've watched it back. I still don't think I made contact with him. I think he was looking for it. He went down easily. Don't know why the ref didn't book him, having not given the penalty. I've seen them give him, but I haven't touched them. It would be very harsh, and I think the referee made the right call. A lot of the players try to buy penalties, and sometimes defenders can't do a lot about it. But I played on and I tried to get the ball straight away because in my eyes, it wasn't a penalty. So I'm loving the bodying of Will Hughes. He says, my conscience was clear. And the only thing I would say is that he probably should have booked him. So he gets that in there again. Also, though, as well as just being a brilliant fella and bodying people and smashing into people on the pitch, I was really pleased to hear what he had to say about City. It's something we've said already on this show. It's something we've said on lots of shows. But I think it's interesting that an actual player for Liverpool Football Club is saying this now. And what he's saying is, on City, he was asked whether knowing their result takes the edge off our result. And he says, doesn't take the edge off anything. The only Man City result we can control is when we play them. We can't control anything else. As long as we keep winning, you could ask the same thing to them. Of course, they're 2 points clear, but they want us off their tails. We can only focus on what we're doing. If you take one eye off it and think about who Man City are playing, then we might slip up. So as long as we keep winning games, we'll be in the hunt. Let's just see where it takes us. Now, I just feel like going, that's the end of the show. You know what I mean? Because that's what you want to hear from Liverpool, isn't it? That's what you want to hear from the players. That's a clear commitment as well to sort of psychology of how they're all looking at the situation. And it's the right way to go about it, isn't it?
Definitely. It comes down from the manager, doesn't it? I think that's his toughest challenge, really. Just making sure that the whole squad and the whole environment around the club itself is sort of separate from the fans. In this sense, you can isolate yourself and just keep focused on what you can do and what you can control. And, the fact that he's coming out and saying this, and you've heard bits from other players, Van Dijk, it's in his personality not to care about anything else. But you hear them say it, and I think it reassures us immediately. And hopefully this can kind of start transmitting into how we think, because I think there are a lot of fans who are worried about City and worry that this could be a season where things don't, we achieve such great things but don't get that kind of silverware, whatever it is at the end of it.
And there's no need.
Well, exactly, that's the thing. And I think the players have learnt to do that. You could see it from last season. And, I think we also got to realise that these players are experienced now. They've had a season where they've been to the final of the European Cup. They've had tough sort of challenges and they've gone through it and they've matured together as a squad. So it's just all the right things you want to be hearing, to be honest.
I don't want to get you on that. I want to get you on one thing, because remember, there's one thing that I've missed, because I've nearly done it for the second consecutive show. Jordan Henderson was sent off at the weekend, and we didn't talk about it on the post-match pint. And as soon as we pressed stop, Dan Morgan said to me, "You're going to get shit now for not mentioning the Jordan Henderson red card." And I was just like, I sort of forgot about it, because it's the most obvious red card I've ever seen in my life, really. And Henderson knew it, and he walked off and he took it. I'm not too sure what analysis is needed, but apparently if Fabinho had done it, we all would have been on his back, because this is the way it all works with the crank theorists. So go on, talk about Henderson's red card.
Yeah, I think it's a bit mad. There's this weird sort of dynamic going on with the Henderson-Fabinho thing now, where there's like a counter argument where I don't think people who like Henderson would have been on Fabinho's back for the same thing. I wouldn't have been. Like there are certain players in our squad. I was sitting with Neil for a game a few weeks ago. Might have even been Cardiff, and a few things happened in that match. And I said it always fascinates me, the psychology behind how we support different players. Like Alisson is a perfect example. Alisson can basically do whatever he wants. He can mess up. He has made so many mistakes, like glaring mistakes since he signed, that don't even get not even mentioned, because of the context of everyone was just so pleased to get him. And with everything else we'd had, and he's made some great saves in fairness, and I think we all love him. And it's the same with Henderson and Fabinho, depending on which it's like this thing, it's like you've got to pick a camp. You can't just say, I know you've written on this recently, you can't just say, sometimes Jordan Henderson's brilliant and sometimes he's not that good. And if you can get a better player than... If Fabinho's better than Henderson, great. Then that's fantastic for Liverpool Football Club and that's all we care about. On the red card itself, I actually didn't think... I was amazed. I would have been amazed if he hadn't been sent off after the first booking. As soon as he got booked, just the way he was playing, I was thinking, you're going to get sent here, mate, and you probably need to be hooked.
He was milding off a bit and stuff.
It just seemed, and I don't know whether this was, he's just come back, he's under a lot of pressure. He just seemed sort of quite like wound up with the world. I don't know what it was. Maybe he hadn't slept well or something, I don't know.
He had a new haircut as well, skin fade.
Yeah, and that's it. And he has a shave, hasn't he? And things, I mean, he didn't have his best game ever, but again, if you're a Fabinho fan and you don't like Henderson, maybe think about how much grace you're giving Fabinho that you won't give Henderson when he's just come back from a long layoff. And I watched that and think, he was a bit rusty. Wasn't his old self. Still made some great passes. Still covered the ground really well. He got sent off for a bit of a silly second booking. I think probably should have not done it. Should have done better. Not the end of the world. He probably wouldn't have played all the games in the next week anyway because he's just come back from injury. Not that big a deal.
No, not that big a deal. Hopefully that ticks the box for you on the Henderson chat and you can stop saying, mad theories about the Anfield app and Henderson because it's dead boring. But what isn't dead boring is there's loads of boss games coming up. We've got PSG, we've got Everton. The Anfield app will be covering these in the way it does. Podcast videos, writing on the site. Have a look at it all. Get involved on social media as well. So we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're obviously on YouTube because that's where you're watching this more than likely. Get involved, enjoy it, enjoy the ride, as I said. That's been the second look. Thanks to the boys and thanks to Sam who got us a load of boss scarves. Up the Reds.